The John Lebang Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised.
Worldwide and out to the greater universe, you're listening to the John Lebang Show.
Greetings, Earthlings, and alert the media. The banger is on the microphone. 2 hours of sonic vibrations that stimulate your mind and cause chronic brain cell rejuvenation. I'm your host, John Lebang, and if you are listening to us for the very first time on one of our many affiliate stations around the globe, or even watching us on YouTube, thank you for the opportunity to entertain you and enlighten you. Hey Joe, where's the plunger? Shady, I'm in the middle of a show. Well, it's an emergency. Well, it was in the bathroom the last I checked. Are you sure? Listen, Shady, I've got to get back to the show. People are listening right now. Then why the heck are you talking to me? Get back to entertaining before you lose any more listeners. Well, I would be if you didn't interrupt me, Shady. Oh, so now it's my fault. The toilet is overflowing.
Uncle Shady, hurry up! It's going everywhere!
Oh, man. John, I gotta go. Bye. I apologize for that, ladies and gentlemen. Occasionally mayhem happens here on the John Lebang Show. And we offer a unique brand of radio frequency pleasure. Hard-hitting commentary, comedic skits, interviews, epic stories, in-depth reporting, senseless humor, real news, music, madness, and a whole lot more. So welcome to the John Lebang Show. So apparently scientists are now claiming that they've found a solar system called TRAPPIST-1, and it has a whole bunch of planets that are Earth-like and that have the potential of supporting life and water. And they're going to be excited to be studying this solar system. And these planets are as close to that sun as Mercury would be. That red dwarf sun that they're talking about out there in the TRAPPIST-1, they are claiming that it's only about, I think it's about half the Kelvin strength of our sun. So those planets in close are okay because they're going to receive about the same amount of heat and light as we would get here because we're in that special Goldilocks zone, and they readjusted a Goldilocks zone on the parameters of the sun and how close the planets were in this TRAPPIST-1 system. And the internet was abuzz, and people were talking about it, and it was trending on all the social media. Because the title of most of the stories that were talking about this subject was 7 Earth-like planets orbiting one nearby star. And now, everybody who wants to believe there's life on other planets, everybody who wants to believe ET's out there, everybody who's a space junkie, and I can be included in some of that, but I think this thing through a little bit, and I actually read the entire story because I want to know what they're saying outside of the headline, because the headline is a manufactured news item. We're going to skip calling things fake news anymore. We're going to be calling these things manufactured news item. If you were to scroll down on one of these articles here and get far enough down, you will see that This sun is 39 light years away. So all we're seeing are little tiny things in our little telescopes there. Very hard to measure anything. So we're guessing at everything. We're basing our guesses on things we at least think we know to be fact. The current physics of our galaxy, our solar system. But it goes beyond that. Because when you get down to the end of the article, where they actually pack in the truth, where they squeeze it in there so you can't like say they didn't tell you. It says this: they know very little about these planets in this solar system, beyond, or almost nothing beyond, I should say, the estimates of their size, the distance from their host star, and their orbital periods. So they're basing everything on seeing that there's a little dot out there, and there are little dots rotating around, and it takes these little dots to rotate around the big dot. They're basing that these planets have possible Earth-like environments. They're very Earth-like. There's a chance that life could be on these planets. Maybe they use a little infrared to get some ideas on that. But all their calculations, all their scientific study is based on super long distance information that they can't get firsthand, because when you're going through a telescope, you're not there. And because it's 39 light years away, 39 light years away, we're never going to reach those planets in our lifetime. Never. So to even make it a news story, to manufacture a news story saying, hey, we found 7 planets or 3 planets or 2 planets or whatever these stories talking about Earth-like planets in some distant solar system. Because they're not our neighboring solar system. They make it sound like it's next door. Like you can go knock on the door. Hello? Hey, how you doing there, solar system? I'm your neighbor. We're called the Milky Way. Nice to meet you. We've got 9 planets. How many do you have? You have 7. Oh my goodness, you have a small family. It's ridiculous to manufacture this news story in a manner suggesting that these are actual planets that are Earth-like and could possibly support life when we don't even have the slightest clue about these planets beyond. They have a sun that's smaller than ours. They rotate as close as Mercury rotates around that sun. And how long it takes for each one to rotate around it. They've made that. That's all they know. And already they're out there suggesting that there's possible life. Mm-hmm. These are Earth-like planets. E.T. might live on these planets. And I'm a science buff. I love space. I love the concept of space travel. I'm a huge Star Trek fan. Star Wars fan. But we've got to digest this information properly. And we can't just shove it down without tasting it first. And when the headline suggests that, it tells you, it doesn't even suggest, it tells you, 7 Earth-like planets have been found by scientists. And then you read the story and you get deep into it and you find out they don't know jack about these planets. They don't know diddly squat. But the news media must have a slow media day or something. There must not be anything to talk about for them to publish this in the manner that they published. A honest news media, an honest reporting organization would say, hey, scientists have found that there is a sun with 7 planets rotating around it, and that's all we know. But no, they've got to suggest that there might be life, there's ET on there, there's water on there. We don't know. We're guessing. We're never going to get there in our lifetimes. 39 light years away. Unless NASA or the military is, engineering some kind of warp drive that we don't know about yet, which they might be. But unless they've designed some sort of spaceship that can travel fast enough to get out there and then to send the information back to us in enough time for us to, live through it and find out what's on those planets, and hopefully they don't run into ET. They were also discussing in the article that the scientists were suggesting that we could possibly go to these planets someday. I don't know how long they think it's going to take to get there, as far as like building a craft, building a ship to travel that 39 light years away. We've seen some awesome technological advancements in our lifetime. In my lifetime, we went from the cassette player to the MP3. And so many more different technological advances. But to say that we're going to be able to go to one of these places that's 39 light years away in our lifetime is crazy. And no one is suggesting that in the articles that I'm reading, and I don't think even the people who did the study are suggesting that. They're just suggesting we're going to go there one day and study. Now, why would we go to another planet and study? Do we want aliens to come here and study us? You know how scientists are. They gather up things, they gather up creatures, and they do tests on them. So beyond the fact that this article is manufactured in a certain way to make you believe that we found Earth-like planets when we haven't, we have found planets rotating around a sun, and that's all we know. And we know their orbit. That's it. But people will run with the headline without investigating deeper into the story. And I guess that's why you come to the John Lebang Show, because I read deeper into the story. I find out the nitty-gritty about it, and I report it to you, and then I let you digest the information, and you can then make your determination on what you believe. Because I don't tell you what to believe, folks. I just give you the information. It's up to you to siphon through the facts, siphon through all that information, and come up with your own belief, your own determination of what truly is happening. We're up against a quick break, folks, so we're going to take a time out. Please check out our sponsors because they support us, and if you support them, they will continue to support the John Lebang Show. Hey, don't touch that dial. The John Lebang Show will be right back. I promise. Wrecking Crew, Detroit's own head-cracking, ass-kicking tribute to Motley Crue. Playing all the greatest hits. Catch their 2017 tour, March 4th at the All Around in Taylor, Michigan. April 1st at the Music Factory in Battle Creek, Michigan. April 29th at the Diesel Concert Lounge in Chesterfield Township, Michigan. June 24th at Poopy's Pub and Grub in Savannah, Illinois.
Wrecking Crew.
For more information about Detroit's own head-cracking, ass-kicking tribute to Motley Crue and additional tour information, go to their website. That's www.wreckingcrewdetroit.com.
Wrecking Crew.
Detroit's head-cracking, ass-kicking tribute to Motley Crue. You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
Join the radio revolution right here.
It's better than some good Thai stick, man.
Yes, I would like some too. I don't think we can contain it, Uncle Shady. You know, I should have known better than to use stall number 2.
What's all the commotion, fellas?
Oh, we've got a backup.
Stall number 2, eh?
Damn right. I think we should call in Idork, Uncle Shady. You know, I second that. I'm not going in there. It was bad enough the first time. All right, I'll call her, Uncle Shady. Well, you do that. Idork, we need you at the lavatory ASAP. She's on her way, Uncle Shady. I might have to stop eating so many beans.
Well, at least they're good for you.
In more ways than one. So where you headed?
I'm headed down to the basement.
Oh, it's feeding time at the zoo, huh?
That's one way of putting it. Well, good luck with the toilet.
Thanks. And do yourself a favor. Don't stay down there too long. You're liable to catch whatever they got.
I'm straight, Shady.
Well, let's hope so. Uncle Shady, here comes Idork.
At your service.
Well, it's about time you got here.
I've only got 2 retractable hands.
We need you to clean and sanitize the lavatory.
Oh, great. Who did it this time?
Don't you worry about who did it this time.
I should have known. You are a repeat offender.
Well, I'm offended that you said that.
Get over it.
But Uncle Shady, it's the truth. Now don't bother me with the truth. I'm busy ignoring it.
Figures.
Now hurry up and clean this up before it becomes a toxic waste zone.
Acknowledged. Oh, Lord. I've always got to do the dirty work.
You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
It's what's cool on radio.
Well, apparently the National UFO Reporting Center, an organization that records UFO sightings since the beginning of the 20th century, is stating that we're at an all-time high in UFO sightings. And that must mean that ET is here, right? I'm sure a lot of people who are reading this story that there's a record amount of UFO sightings. That's the first thing that enters their mind. ET is here. ET is showing up, and we're seeing them all over the place. And apparently, here in the United States, we're seeing more UFOs than anywhere else in the world. And again, that must be due to ET. At least that's the first thought of the people who believe that aliens must be visiting us. They have visited us, or they're going to visit us. And I find that, a little silly. Because there may be alien life forms out there in the distant galaxy. Light years and light years away. Many light years. They may even have some sort of advanced travel. But to think that the lights in the sky that we are seeing, especially here in the U.S., the most technologically advanced country on the planet, to think that these UFO sightings, unidentified flying objects, are ET, or just to assume that that's what that is not thinking things through fully. We know our government secretly tests a various amount of vehicles. Not just planes, not just helicopters, but they have tested all sorts of vehicles. It's because they were trying to get to space. Now we are 50 plus years later. You don't think we have aircraft that fly all around and they're testing that stuff? I mean, it is dark when we see UFOs most of the time. So all we see are lights in the sky. And they move maybe differently than an airplane or a helicopter. Don't you think that the United States government would be testing any theory they could come up with on the possibility of flight to see if they could either save fuel, become more efficient with speed, all sorts of things, right? I don't know. That's for the people that are building those things. And what are the possibilities of an alien race coming to this planet, looking over us, and our military not shooting them down for freaking out? How paranoid are the leaders of this world? They wouldn't have restraint if they saw a fleet of alien spacecraft. Are you kidding me? I wonder how we would feel if the aliens came here and tried to explore. Because our exploration is what? Testing? We would go to the planet and grab this rock and that specimen and maybe a life form here and test them, right? See what they're about. We do that here. Why wouldn't we do that out there? So maybe the aliens are doing it here. If you believe in the aliens. But these UFO sightings, what's the most likely thing? Is it secret government craft? Or is it ET from some distant galaxy 200 billion light years away or whatever? You've got to go with the most likely, especially with an unidentified. Is it maybe a U.S. secret plane? Or is it ET coming from Mars? Even if they're from Mars. Look, we land the Mars rover on their planet. Now they're probably upset. Let them send their rover over here. I don't know if scientists ever take that into consideration, that this exploration of planets and other heavenly bodies, how that would be like trespassing if there were another alien race. If we just happened to, cruise up on a planet and beam down. Oh, look, Jim. These sort of things are interesting, and it gets people thinking about otherworldly things. But in reality, it's not likely. The most likely thing is some kind of government craft. Heck, there are drones in the sky all the time now. And some dude with a drone, maybe a bigger one. These people know how to build things. Could be a government one, I don't know. Could be up there and hovering around doing some weird movements, and how would you know what it is and how high it is? If it's a shape you didn't recognize, you'd freak out. But I'm telling you, people, especially in this day and age, with the advancements in robotics and computerized controls, and people are thinking more ETs are coming. There may be ET out there. I'm not denying that fact. The universe is vast. There's no way of knowing what's out there. We barely know what's on the moon, and we know even less about Mars, and people want to talk about all the other things out there in the universe. We don't know anything. So what's the most likely scenario? It's got to be a government secret project. It may not be so secret. Do you really want an ET showing up at this planet, and do you want our government not to defend us from it? You think ET is going to come here all peacefully? If they're out there exploring the galaxy, they're going to probably do it for the same reasons we would do it, to find resources and a future place to move our race, because this planet will expire at some point. And it's truly a race to get us off the planet before that happens.
Don't go anywhere. The John Lebang Show will be right back.
You'd be crazy to change the dial now.
If you are elderly, disabled, receiving SSI or Medicaid, and you have a medical need or require assistance with daily housework, shopping, grooming, medication, you may qualify for housekeeping at no cost. Call now. VIP Home Healthcare, 248-579-3805. VIP Home Healthcare, there when you need them. That's 248-579-3805.
Hey, man, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Do you know where your kids are, man?
Forces of darkness, the treasonable maggots who collaborate must, can, and will be wiped from the face of the earth.
John McCain, Johnny Insane, is making news again. Of course, not in the mainstream manufactured news industry, but in the alternative news. He's causing a little stir because he's basically not concerned with Russia and China warning the U.S. not to attack Syria, not to invade Syria. Which, if you didn't know, there are people pushing for that. Even the Pentagon is making plans for that. We have John McCain saying, screw China and Russia. The heck with them. We're not worried with them. And it's not making headlines, of course, not in the mainstream manufactured news. Because in the manufactured news industry, they don't want things that, well, will shake up the agenda. And something like this, if this was made public to all the American people, they'd want this guy out because the American people don't want to be in Syria. We're tired of war. We're sick and tired of it. And you have the war hawk here, Mr. Johnny Insane, saying, we're not worried about them. We're not worried about them. Take a listen.
Senator, there are 5 U.S. warships in the Mediterranean right now. Russia and China allegedly are sending warships as well. Russia, China, and Iran have warned the United States of catastrophic consequences if the United States attacks Syria. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are that it doesn't concern me in the slightest.
And why is that?
Because they will not act, just as they didn't act when the Israelis 4 times have taken out targets inside Syria. Syria said that they would react, and they didn't. The United States is the most powerful nation in the world, and we're not going to be intimidated by Russia and China. We are not. So I guarantee you that they will not act. If we launch these strikes against Syria, they will not act.
Senator Ted Cruz said yesterday out of Texas that we should not act as Al-Qaeda's air force. The al-Nusra Front is fighting alongside the Free Syrian Army, which is directly linked to Al-Qaeda. Why was the United States fighting against Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, but now fighting alongside them in Syria?
Because your statement is totally false. Your statement could not be more false.
That isn't false. That's been well documented.
No, your statement is false. So if you want to say that it's not, I'm entitled to say your statement is false. I've been in Syria. Have you been in Syria? No.
I have not.
No, you have not. I have.
It's also clear that the American people overwhelmingly do not support a war in Syria. A research poll said 91% of Americans do not support it.
Your statement was false, so I don't have any response to a false statement.
Senator McCain, what do you say about your judgment on how to pick the good and evil in Syria when you yourself were photographed? How do we trust your judgment, picking the good and the evil in
Photographed with someone because it appeared in an Al-Qaeda newspaper in Lebanon?
It appeared in the Guardian newspaper. You obviously know what I'm talking about. How are we supposed to trust your judgment if you're photographed with known terrorists?
I have never had anything to do with known terrorists, and I'm offended by your question.
The guy interviewing Mr. McCain makes valid points. How are we against Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, but basically their air force in Syria? And we've touched on this so many times We spent an entire show back about a year and a half ago on the subject of the U.S. involvement in the whole Syrian conflict and who our allies were and who our supposed enemies were and who the enemies of our enemies were and the allies of our allies. We've touched on that. You can find those archives on my YouTube channel as well as on the website. But we have John McCain. He's like, the heck with it. I'm not worried about Russia and China. Big deal. We're big and bad. That's right. We're big and bad. The whole world has got to follow our lead. Whatever our rules are. If we want to drain the swamp, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a supporter of that, people like John McCain need to be booted out of there because he's a dangerous man. Johnny Insane wants war at all costs. He wants to stick his nose in everything. He's like the Charlie Murphy of the modern era in politics right now. Have you seen the movie Charlie Murphy's War? If you haven't, go ahead and spend a few hours and watch it. And then look at John McCain. John McCain is the modern version of this. He gets in there, he starts funding rebel groups to fight the supposed enemies of the U.S. These rebel groups, over the long term, turn out to be terrorist groups that we have to oppose and fight. And for John McCain to deny this is incredible. He can't deny it. As the reporter said in the interview, the proof is right out there. There's pictures of John McCain with the people from the terrorist groups. Sitting there hanging out. Yeah. Had to get a selfie or something, I'm not sure. And it's well documented through CIA documents as well as the Pentagon documents that we have been funding rebel groups. And these rebel groups are affiliated with Al-Qaeda and ISIS. The whole Syrian conflict is so convoluted, it's staggering to imagine the intricacies of all the dealings between this group and this country and that country, and who's an ally and who's not an ally, and who you're opposed against. I don't even know if anybody knows who they're at war with at this moment in Syria. Anybody who's not wearing the badge of the current whatever group is on the march gets shot at and wasted. Nobody knows who's fighting who. And look at how long this has gone on. Another perpetual military operation that we are involved with. And you can blame all that on John McCain and Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. I was hoping Mr. Donald Trump would do something to get us out of there. But if the Pentagons are making plans for it, and John McCain, who just did a little jaunt over the weekend to go visit some military and other forces out there, he was talking to our military that's inside Syria. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. Most people are not that. We are already in Syria as far as boots on the ground are concerned. It's not in the tens of thousands of troops, but we have special forces there. I'm sure we have CIA agents and other various clandestine cells throughout the nation. We're bombing. Russia's bombing. I was truly hoping that with Donald Trump as president, that he would clean up this mess, but maybe the swamp is too full. Maybe, we thought it was a swimming pool that we had to drain, and maybe it's a lake. Maybe it's an ocean. And people like John McCain, Mitch McConnell. See, there's plenty of people on the Republican side that are entrenched inside this establishment. Look, we can't even get Obamacare to be hurried along as far as dismantling it, getting rid of it. Because the coward Republicans are too afraid they're going to lose a few million votes across the board because they're going to take away supposed benefits from people. Doesn't matter that they've been taking away money from people who can't afford insurance and that don't want to be part of the whole Obamacare program. A lot of people want to be left alone. They don't want to buy the product, and they don't want to be fined for being alive and not having a product. And if there's anything I could encourage Mr. Donald Trump, the president, Mr. Donald Trump, to focus on, it's Obamacare and getting this thing done, getting it out of here. But it probably will never go away, because once you place a program in the scope of the government, once you entrench it in there and lock it in, once it's able to breach and come through and be part of the government, you cannot get rid of it so easily. Because politicians are afraid of losing votes. They're cowards. John McCain speaks a tough game. He's been in there so long, there's so much money behind him that it's hard to get rid of this guy. And I can't believe that people continually vote for this Schmendrick, Johnny Insane. He doesn't care if we go to war with Russia or China. Oh, they won't do anything. They have done stuff. I reported on how there's been stray action that has happened in Israel from the Syrian conflict. And that's why the Israelis retaliated. See, John McCain's like, oh, Israel did stuff and Syria didn't retaliate. That's not how it went. Syria just accidentally let a few things happen in Israel, and Israel fired back. John McCain flips it around because his world is a backwards world, where wars is a good thing. And I guess if you only read the mainstream media headlines and only listen to the mainstream media news, the manufactured news that they produce, you're not going to know things like this. So you're going to think John McCain's not too bad. But he himself is part of the establishment. Just because you get rid of a Hillary Clinton, and just because you get rid of Barack Obama, which I'm telling you we're not rid of, there's some very shady things going on with the Obama after party, so to speak, in Washington. You could say it's a shadow government going on at this moment. Maybe a small soft coup would be better termed. But either way, this swamp is so full. To drain it, it's going to take more than Donald Trump and his administration, and probably more than 4 years. That is, if you dislike how things have been happening inside of Washington, D.C. See, nobody's happy with Washington, D.C. Nobody's ever happy with Washington, D.C. Very, very few people are. the people who benefit from the little things that they hand out and pander to people with. Yet we continue to send the people, the same people, up there. And for those people who do not like Donald Trump, you have to at least admire the fact that he has not been in the government before. And Donald, he's rich enough to where there's no need to, he doesn't need to be bought out. He can do whatever. Now, you may not like the guy on what he's doing, but he doesn't need lobbyists to grease his palms. He doesn't need that. And he's not a establishment, long-term government official. He hasn't been in the government as a career politician. So, in those regards, he should be at least admired. Now, you may not like what he's doing. There are things I don't like what's happening. But when you're talking about the problems in the government, it's not Donald Trump. He just got there. You've got John McCain that's been there forever. You had Hillary who was there forever. Maxine Waters, Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi. Those are the real problems with government. Those people. How come we're not seeing these large groups of people who are protesting and causing violence, protest against John McCain or Maxine Waters or Nancy Pelosi? Why is that there is no one complaining about them? Or at least not to the extent that they are protesting against Donald Trump, who just got there. He hasn't even done a whole lot. Can you imagine? What's wrong with people? You've got people entrenched in the government that are the real problem. Been there for years. Yet you are out there protesting a man who's been in there a month and has barely done anything. The problem is with the people that's been there. All the stuff you don't like, it's because of those people.
Don't touch that dial. The John Lebang Show will be right back.
You can bet on it, man.
CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services. Their billers and managers are all dedicated to working for you to increase your profits. For more information, call CRRM at 248-579-3805. CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services. And I'd like to welcome our new sponsor, Pane in the Glass, commercial and residential window cleaning. For a beautiful, sparkling shine that's crystal clear, call Pane in the Glass Window Cleaning. You can find them on Facebook at Pane in the Glass.
If you want to contact the John Lebang Show, feel free to send an email to jlebang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John Lebang. Banger. Now here's John.
So here we have the empty suit, good-for-nothing Republicans who have all the power in their hands, and they have a president that will sign a bill immediately on Obamacare. And they're just dragging their feet. Oh, we can't get it done. We can't get it done. I thought they opposed Obamacare. Many of them were elected to get rid of Obamacare and the damaging effects of Obamacare. Yet, oh no, we can't get it done. It may take a whole year to work on Obamacare. And that's because they are cowards. The Republicans that are in the Congress right now are cowards to dismantle, repeal, get rid of a program that is weighing so much burden on a great deal of Americans because they may lose votes. That's what it is. They may lose votes by a few million, maybe a few million people who it might affect because they're getting some sort of subsidy from the American taxpayer to pay for their health care. The Republicans weren't elected to sit there and drag their feet in all this. They have all the power, they have the votes to get it done, yet they can't get it done. What's the problem? Donald Trump will sign it into law. All you have to do is repeal and replace, or repeal. I'm fine with repeal. Get rid of it. And then if you want to do something later, as long as there's no mandate and as long as I don't have to pay extra taxes for it, and it might actually help some people, then fine. Work on something. I mean, there's plenty of foreign aid money that we could shift into some form of healthcare lockbox, savings box that could pay for people who can't pay for their health care. We could do that, right? How many billions have we shipped off to Egypt? How many billions have we shipped off to every nation out there? And how much are we spending at the United Nations? Yet the Republicans are dragging their feet on probably the biggest reason they got elected, and that was to get rid of Obamacare. That is just as big an issue as immigration, or even bigger. Yet the Republicans who are there to get things done, to change things for the better for the American people, are dragging their feet. The Schmendrick out there, the empty suit John Boehner, Shaner Boehner, he's out there saying, oh, they're not going to ever repeal Obamacare. He knows something. He was an insider. He knows what they're talking about. They don't want to repeal Obamacare because it's in. See, that's what happens when you do things in the government in the manner like programs, or in the idea that you're going to help people through programs. Once you put something in place, it never goes away. No matter how good, no matter how bad the program is, and most of them are bad, most of them drain money from the American taxpayer, when that money could go to benefiting all their lives. And maybe some people could start businesses and then hire people. But it's much better used if it gets taken from somebody who earns it, gets sent up to some politician, and gets distributed to people who don't deserve it, including foreign governments. I don't understand why they can't get this done. They had a bill on the table a year and a half ago. It was a pretty good bill. And because Obama didn't sign it into law, he vetoed it. Now it's no good. Send the thing through again. You don't have to even debate it. Send the thing through. Just re-put it or submit it. Not a big deal. You're all good then. Then if Donald Trump doesn't sign it, we know what he's about. But right now, they're stalling in Congress to get this done. What, do you got to re-debate a bill that you had passed? It was passed. It passed the House and it passed the Senate. Just didn't get past President Obama. And you didn't have the votes to override his veto. Now you do. Either way. And this is why I tell people the two parties are no different. People fall for the little duality here. You're either Republican or Democrat, and they're different. They're not. They're a bunch of empty suits that are in it for their own gain. And there are very few of them that are actually there to get something done on behalf of the American people. And those people are ridiculed and destroyed. Very much like Donald Trump is, or at least they're trying to attempt to ridicule him and destroy him. He's a different character. You can't attack Donald Trump in the same manner you attacked other politicians. Donald doesn't cave to that. Donald doesn't seem very afraid of people disliking him. So what? He is going to be there for 8 years and he's done. He doesn't have to sway the people who outright hate him for whatever reason they decide to hate him. Again, this goes back to what I was speaking to earlier. He's been there a month. We've had people like John McCain, Maxine Waters, Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell. Pick which one you want to hate. There's some Republicans there and there's some Democrats there. All people who have been entrenched in the government for years, if not decades. They're the problem. Donald Trump's new. He hasn't even had time to become a problem yet. The little bit he's done. And it hasn't been a whole lot, folks, because he's being blocked at every turn. He's being blocked by the Republicans. Can't even get Obamacare to be fixed or repealed or replaced or whatever. You can't get anything done. They're talking a year or more. Why? Why are you dragging your feet? You've known since November, or at least December, that Donald Trump was going to be president. You didn't get things rolling then? Were you guys out on vacation? I mean, you do take about 500 vacations a year. So we have the empty suit Republicans to choose from, and then we got the Democrats, who I can't even describe in a eloquent manner. I can't be comprehensive enough to describe the Democrat Party, because it would take an entire hour. I would need to write a book on the subject. So we're going to have to put up with Obamacare for at least another year. And trust me, these guys, unless we start kicking some of these people out like Mitch McConnell and John McInsane, if we don't start kicking these kind of people out, the people that have been entrenched in there for years and decades, it doesn't matter who you put in as a president, left or right, you ain't going to get anything fixed, because the establishment is always going to control the government. And if you're going to hate on a guy for being there 1 month for doing very little, and not hate on a bunch of people who have been there forever and are involved in all the problems of the government, then I think you need to re-examine your point of view. It's the career politician and the mainstream manufactured news media that is the true problem. Not a guy that's been there a month. Not a small-time radio talk show host like myself. Not a average person. It's those guys. They control everything. The ones that have been there forever. And it's about time the American people wake up to this fact and stop fighting amongst ourselves and stop dividing ourselves between Republican and Democrat and look at it as us, the people, versus the establishment who is holding us down. It's not Donald Trump holding us down. It's the people who have been in government and who are bought and paid for.
Hey, Joan, you ready for me yet?
Yeah, come on in, Shady.
All right, because it's about time.
How's the toilet issue?
You don't want to know, John. You don't want to know.
What do you mean I don't want to know?
Listen, it's TMI, and that's all I'm going to say.
So now that Shady's back from his time off there, what'd you do on your little time off?
You know what I did.
Well, you said you had to make a detour. Where did you go?
Well, John, we stopped off in Mexican town. Want to get some tacos before everybody's deported.
Yeah, but you can get tacos anywhere, Shady. And not everybody's going to be deported. They're only talking about the illegals.
John, you're talking about the wrong kind of taco.
Well, what kind of taco are you talking about, Shady?
Well, I'd rather not say on the radio.
Well, I don't understand.
Let's just say they were fish tacos. My enchilada enjoyed it.
Okay, if you're going to be so mysterious about it, Shady. Do you have cool or uncool ready for us?
Well, I sure do, and it's a pretty good one.
Well, what is it?
I'll tell you once you give me the intro.
All right, I forgot. It's been a long time since we did this.
And I know you got a short memory.
Who says I got a short memory?
I do. Now shut up.
All right, then. Tonight's cool or uncool is...
the Republicans dragging their feet on Obamacare.
Oh, so you were listening earlier.
Well, yeah, you got it all pumping in every room there.
Well, I like to pump in every room.
Listen, John, I'm here all the time. I know you don't do any pumping.
Well, you're not here all the time.
Can we get on with this? I'm thirsty and there's people calling.
All right. Our first call comes in from Montreal, Canada. Wilfred, what say you?
What the hell? This is uncool.
Okay, thanks for your call. Over to Tampa, Florida. Cora, cool or uncool?
Sonny, you just shut up! Stop talking to let that other guy talk! You're an idiot!
You know, she's got a point there. Maybe I should do your radio show for you.
But it's called the John Lebang Show.
Well, we'll change it to the Shady Show.
Well, that's kind of a dumb name for a show, don't you think, Shady?
Well, how about we call it Shady Superfly Sexy Show?
Don't you think that's a little long and hard to say?
What do you mean? It's easy to say. Shady Sexy Superfly Show, where you can get all the superfly information to make yourself sexy.
Shady, you're kind of old. I don't think you're very sexy anymore.
You know, Joan, you might want to rephrase that.
Well, what do you mean?
Never mind. Get on with it.
Over to Tokyo, Japan. Gojira, what say you? Thanks for your call. Now over to Austin, Texas. AJ, what say you?
You can feel that flame of rebellion starting to lap up and lick right up there.
Thanks for your call.
Maybe he's on medication.
Back out to the phones. Peppa, cool or uncool?
I'm supposed to pay for my next babies without my Obama's care. I love President Obama.
Okay, thanks for your call. What's wrong, Shady?
Oh, the memories.
The memories of what?
That voice. Are we done here?
Yep, we're right up against the clock.
Good, because after that last phone call, I gotta go to the bathroom.
So you got that all under control?
No, but I don't care. I'll wade through the swamp.
So what happened in there anyways?
Let's just say we were trying to drain the swamp. I'll see you later, John.
And that's it, ladies and gentlemen, for the first 60 minutes in this week's broadcasting schedule. Don't forget to go to my website. That's www.jlebang.com. I'd like to thank all my affiliate stations and thank you for listening. Stay tuned for hour number 2 on the stations that carry it. And until the vibrations of my vocal cords reach your ears again, this is John Lebang, signing off from the Banger Studios.
We have liftoff. Tune in again next week. Same time, same space, same station.
Resistance is futile.
Leroy, is it all cleaned up in there?
Well, Idork's just about finished, Uncle Shady.
Well, that's good, because I gotta go then.
This time, Uncle Shady, don't use 3 rolls of teepee.
Listen, sometimes you just can't help it. Well, maybe we should put in a bidet. You mean that thing that squirts water on you? That's right, Uncle Shady. That just don't seem right. Well, what do you mean, Uncle Shady? Well, there's nothing better than a good roll of TV.
Room has been sanitized.
Well, that's my cue. I'll see you at dinner. That's in like 2 hours, Uncle Shady. Well, I might be late then. Bye.